was the president, and who has been the president since January 20th, 2025?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay. And who was the president in 2024?
One believes President Biden.
One believes? You one of those non-believers that the election, the American people didn't vote?
I am not.
You're not? You said one believes? Do you believe in the Constitution of the United States? And it should be abided
I believe in the Constitution of the United States.
So you believe in it without any second thought. You don't have to think about it. You believe in it and you would abide by it. Is that correct?
I have and I do, sir.
Okay. But do you know that a president has said he may or may not? He don't know?
Watch carefully, because this isn't just a heated exchange. It's a moment where the entire economic narrative collapses under its own weight. Gregory Meeks asks one simple question about Trump's tariffs, and within seconds, the logic behind emergency powers, economic blame shifting, and presidential authority starts falling apart in real time.
Mr. Bassett, I'm just a plain, simple man, the average, everyday American is looking at this hearing today. So can you tell me first, does trade deficits constitute a national emergency?
The hollowing out of the U.S.
No, just yes or no.
Class,
yes or no. Yes or no.
It's a national emergency, sir.
It does. It does. You're telling me trade deficits equals a national or creates
persistent and prolonged.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And do you know also, sir, that for the last 4 decades, we've had trade deficits in the United States of America, and nobody said it was an emergency? Democratic and Republican presidents? You know what that says to me? That it's not an emergency because it hasn't been for 4 decades. It says to me that we should bring tariffs back to the United States Congress so that we can make that determination as the Constitution has said and not try to go around Congress. That's just unbelievable to me. Let me ask this question. Maybe I missed it. Who was the president and who has been the president since January 20th, 2025?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay. And who was the president in 2024?
One believes President Biden.
One believes? You one of those non-believers that the election, the American people didn't vote?
I am not.
You're not? You said one believes? Do you believe in the Constitution of the United States? And it should be abided by?
I believe in the Constitution of the United States.
So you believe in it without any second thought. You don't have to think about it. You believe in it and you would abide by it. Is that correct?
I have and I do, sir.
Okay. Well, do you know that a president has said he may or may not? He don't know? Let me ask this question. I couldn't believe my ears. Sunday, during NBC's Meet the Press, President Trump credited himself for the strong economy in 2024 when Joe Biden was president, but then he blamed President Biden for a weak economy in 2025 when he was president. Now I'm not so sure how the American people puts that together. In 2024, strong economy, he tries to take the credit. In 2025, when he's the president, he blames Joe Biden. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it makes sense to most Americans, and I hope, Mr. Secretary, you're a businessman, it doesn't make sense to you either. It can't possibly make sense to you. Let me ask this question. If a government, say Argentina, I remember when I came here, and Argentina kept failing to pay its debt. Not once or twice or 3 times. And we were all upset about it, and we said that they needed somebody to take over their government, somebody should help the president of Argentina. If the United States didn't pay its debt or something like that, we'd be very upset about that if we couldn't pay our debt. I mean, that's one of our focuses. Is that not correct?
Sir, the United States will always meet its debt obligations.
Always. Well, let me ask you this. Donald Trump, the deal maker, and you didn't answer Ms. Velasquez's questions, no deals, although he said 3 weeks ago that there would be deals. But Donald Trump, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, but 6 times failed to pay his debts on his business and went bankrupt. And you're going to call that a good businessman?
The gentleman's
I wouldn't
time has
invest in that
expired.
company.
The gentleman's time has expired.
What makes this moment so powerful isn't that Gregory Meeks raises his voice. It's that he refuses to let complexity be used as camouflage. He begins where most Americans actually live, not inside economic jargon or partisan talking points, but inside common sense. Trade deficits, something the United States has lived with for over 40 years, through Republican administrations, through Democratic ones, through economic booms and painful recessions, and yet suddenly, under Donald Trump, those same trade deficits are being rebranded as a national emergency. That word matters because an emergency isn't just descriptive, it's legal. It's the lever that allows a president to bypass Congress and unilaterally impose tariffs without legislative approval. Meeks understands exactly what's happening here. This isn't about whether trade deficits are good or bad. It's about whether the executive branch can redefine a long-standing economic condition as a crisis simply to seize power that the Constitution explicitly gives to Congress. And this is where the exchange shifts from economics to democracy. Meeks reminds the room that for decades, no president, Republican or Democrat, claimed that trade deficits alone justified emergency powers, not because they didn't exist, but because disagreement over trade policy is not the same thing as a national emergency. Calling it one now isn't a discovery, it's a strategy. Then, Meeks exposes something even more corrosive, narrative manipulation. Donald Trump claims credit for a strong economy in 2024, a year when Joe Biden was president, but when economic indicators soften in 2025, with Trump back in office, suddenly responsibility disappears and blame snaps backward in time. Meeks doesn't accuse, he simply asks how Americans are supposed to make sense of that. Credit without accountability, power without responsibility, and that's when the conversation turns to credibility. Trump sells himself as the ultimate deal maker, yet no major trade deals materialize, no tariff victories are secured, and Meeks reminds everyone of a documented business history that includes 6 bankruptcies, not as a personal attack, but as a reality check, because if emergency powers are being justified on the promise of superior judgment and economic mastery, then that judgment deserves scrutiny. If Congress is being cut out of its constitutional role, the person assuming that authority doesn't get immunity from questions. This exchange matters because it shows how power is often expanded in modern government, not through dramatic takeovers, but through quiet redefinitions. Words like emergency get stretched, responsibility gets blurred, and accountability becomes optional unless someone stops the conversation and forces clarity back into the room. That's what Gregory Meeks does here. He slows the moment down, he strips away the slogans, and he reminds Americans that economic policy doesn't just affect markets, it affects who gets to decide, who gets to evade blame, and who answers to the public when the story stops adding up. This is bigger than tariffs. Should a president be allowed to bypass Congress by calling long-standing economic conditions an emergency, or is that a dangerous expansion of executive power? Share your thoughts. The public deserves this debate.